Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is day 3 of our winter blizzard. The winds are dying down, but it's still snowing. It looks quite white and fluffy out. Definitely a white Christmas. It is nice and cool in the greenhouse here. You can see the snow has been melting. I've got like an ice patch in my avatar grove here. Looks really cool. Nice to see that kind of frozen look. Almost like, it's a waterfall that's frozen up. Looks really cool. You can see the bark on the tree is kind of naturally stripped off. And that happens on these thujas. The bark kind of sheds as it gets rough and the tree grows. Today I'm going to be working on my old apple tree, pruning it up and having a look at all the dead rotting wood on it, and cleaning up the moss if I can, if it's not frozen. So the branches have grown long over the summer. This dead wood is rotting away here. If I wiggle the top of the tree, you can see, all this dead wood is just rotting. I was hoping that roots would grow from this living part into the rotted wood and kind of create its own kind of freestanding tree there. So there's no way to stop this decay in the middle. It just died off and it's going to rot out, leaving kind of a hollow trunk. But you see that a lot in orchard trees, old apple trees. A main trunk will die off and then suckers grow up around it and you get kind of more of a clump style. So that's what this will be. I had the front of the tree rearranged to be over here. So we'll definitely have a look at it from the new front, reevaluate the styling and give it a pruning. So I've got to get it over here on my bench area, and I have a few trees on the floor here in the way, but I think I can rearrange things and make this work. I was hoping I could move the trees outside while I'm filming, but if we look outside, my goodness, the snow is so thick, it's unbelievable. And I'm hoping my polyhouse roof is still holding, but we'll have a look at that later. I have cleared up a lot of room in the greenhouse here. So I got my workbench cleared. The floor in front of it is cleared. I have a couple of trees here, but that's okay. They're out of the way. I've got my cedar forest tucked in the corner down there. So all is good. I can put the apple tree on the bench here and begin work. When I walk outside, it feels like you're living in one of those snow globes that someone just shook it up. And it's so bizarre. It's just, everything is so covered in snow. It's unbelievable. It looks like something out of a fantasy movie or something. It's just amazing how covered in snow everything is. And it's still coming down. But luckily the winds died down a bit. It's still there, but not as strong as it was. Yeah, definitely a winter wonderland. I could see the snow on top of my polyhouse here. I better get like a broom or something and get that off. Yeah, look at the icicles on the greenhouse there. Beautiful, just beautiful. I'm ready to begin the work on my apple tree. I've got it all set up on the turntable. Before I begin the work, I'm going to show you some of the scenes just around the house, some of the snow and the snow drifts, and just to give you an idea of what the aftermath of this blizzard for 3 days is like. The cedar tree here is sure covered in snow, and you can see the branches. Normally I can walk under here, but you can see how they're hanging down vertical. So these branches are very flexible. These trees are used to having huge snow loads on them. Instead of the branches breaking off, they just bend down to the ground like this. It's a survival trait that's served them well over the many years. The big maple in the backyard here is covered in snow too. Looks really, really beautiful. Look at all the branches on that. Definitely an upright kind of branched broom style canopy. Even the greenhouse here has a good covering of snow on the roof, which is very unusual. Usually the heat of the greenhouse melts it off. The pear tree beside the greenhouse is covered in snow, and even the fence around the base of it is covered in snow. It looks really cool. The dogwood looks really nice in the winter. You can get some dogwoods that have really bright colored branches, so you get that contrast in winter there. The white snow and then all the colorful branches on the dogwood. These are more kind of just a reddish color. They still look really nice though. Let's go out front now. I'll show you what the cars look like after the big snow. I'll just come underneath the cedar here. The Ford crew cab is being sculpted by the wind here. Kind of strange. The matrix looks the most unusual. I'll show you that. Here it is. So it's covered in a lot of snow. I'll show you it from over here. So it's kind of got like some weird square back on it. Looks like a giant station wagon or something. The Micra, it's covered in snow too. I wanted to show you this drift on the roof of the neighbor's house over here. There goes a car. Yeah, it's pretty deep snow I'm walking through here. Yeah, check out the drift on the neighbor's roof over there. That's wild. That's a lot of weight on the roof too. Yeah, so, you know, I wouldn't want to be out on the road in this weather. Conditions aren't very good yet. You can see visibility's limited, especially if you get out on the highways. Yeah, so that's the house. It's still snowing hard. I came out front to get the shovel. I thought I'd better clear the snow off the polyhouse before it tears or collapses or anything like that. So I'll do that, one last thing, before we get to the apple tree. It's been about 45 minutes now. I shoveled off the polyhouse. I cleared the area in front of the door here. You can see how much snow is piled up here. So I've got the roof cleaned now. I can open the door, have a look at the trees in here. Looks like all is well. The roof looks good. I thought I'd better shovel off the canopy that's over top of the Porsche too. Let's go have a look at that. My goal last year was to get the Porsche out of here. It's on a trailer. I was going to bring the truck in, tow it out into the driveway area here, and then rebuild this temporary shelter over top of it, so, and make it nicer. This canopy on here is like really falling apart. I can show you over here. This is the worst area, so you can see in here is the 911. The whale tail. Yeah, so this has got to be brought out, and then I got to start working on it. It's been sitting for over 20 years. All right, so let's head back into the greenhouse now and get that apple tree pruned up. Wow, there's a lot of snow out here. It's still coming down too. But at least it's a little warmer today. It doesn't feel quite so cold. The wind's died down now. It's actually really beautiful. I am back. I have to switch the exposure to manual mode because it's so, the greenhouse panels are so bright and there's not much light hitting the tree because the roof is all covered in snow. So kind of unusual lighting conditions in the greenhouse here. Normally it's fairly good. The worst lighting conditions in the greenhouse is when the sun's out, kind of shining on part of the tree and part of it's in shadow. It gets very confusing to, you know, one part's overexposed, the other part's underexposed, and messes things up. But usually a cloudy day in the greenhouse here, you kind of got perfect lighting for making bonsai videos. So I'm taking a look at the tree, rotating it around. So I've got some really nice growth out the back here. I've got 2 live veins that come up and form this apex. I've got a sucker coming up here that I thought I'd better keep because there's nothing, this is all rotted out the center trunk here. So, you know, I thought I might as well try and create kind of a clump style. So yeah, this deadwood up here is pretty well ready to fall off, and I may remove it today. It's going to break off by itself anyway. I'm looking at the apex here, so I've got it coming up nicely, and I have it dividing into 2 here, and there's a good opportunity if I took the one off to get nice taper here, shorten the apex, and yeah, improve the tree. So my new front was going to be here. That may change. A lot of the deadwood is rotted away now, so that could change. But I definitely want to prune it all back, more compact today. So I'm going to begin. All right, here I go. So I'm using my bypass pruners. There's no, really fine branches in here. Apple trees generally grow fairly coarse, unless you have like a crab apple, a special variety. Then you can get some nice fine branching. But generally, the growth on apple trees is quite coarse. So I'm going to take off some of the obvious long ones like here, and I'm going to use directional pruning. So I've got to find my buds and prune just before a bud that's facing the direction I want the branch to grow in. I'm looking at this branch. I have a stub here I can prune off, like that. I have another stub here I can prune off. Maybe a little better there. I've got a bud on the very top here. I've got a bud on the bottom. I've got one to the back and one to the front. So they're kind of alternating nicely. I think I want to continue this growing downwards, so I'm going to prune it just in front of the bud that's facing downwards. That way when this starts growing in spring, I'll probably get a shoot going up and one going down. So here I go. I'll prune halfway between the buds, about here. Just like that. I have a branch growing up from the top of that one. I think this branch, depending where the front view is, doesn't really have a strong leader or, clump of leaders. It's kind of going all over the place, which is fine. It looks kind of natural, but I've got to determine, do I want this branch to grow upwards or kind of continue as a horizontal branch? I'm thinking because it is growing upwards, I have a shoot here. I want to continue the growth going upwards, so I'm going to prune it off here. Like that. Now I have one coming out the back here. I have a few stubs I can prune up. I might have to get my other tool. So I'll come in here, remove the stubs, like that. And this one, I have a branch coming to the front, one to the back, and this is the leader, so I think I want it to continue to cascade, so I'll prune it just ahead of this bud that's facing downward to here. Now I have a long one coming out here. There is a stub here I can prune off, and I will. Like that. Another one here. Like that. So this one, it's kind of a cascading branch. I think I want to keep that effect. I have a bud on the very bottom back here. I think that's a good place to keep it. So I'll prune it off here. Really shortening that branch. So this is kind of my, I guess, my tallest leader on this little trunk here. Here's a bit of dead wood behind here. That's rotted wood falling out. Compost that. Yeah, so it's coming up. I have quite a stub here. I better clean that up. So I'll come in and clean that stub up there. Like that. There's another one down below I can clean up. Like that. Now, I have a branch that's kind of growing back in here, which isn't too bad. It's not too long. I will just prune it a little shorter, like that. I have another one that's growing back in the tree here. Again, I'll keep it because there's nothing in the middle here. So I think I'll prune it back to here, like that. And that leaves me with my upright leader there. So here is that upright leader on the branch. I have a bud on here. I think up here is a good place to prune it. Activate these buds back here. So here I go. That's gone. So that kind of gets this little tree pruned up. Oh, I've got a bottom branch here I better do. I think that'll go off right here. And that should get some branching on that. All right, let's continue around to this side and see what I can do there. There's a lot happening. I have kind of a branch coming up here, or a trunk, and then beside it I have another branch that's going right kind of parallel to it. Not real keen on that. I do want to keep a lot of branching in this area though. I want to keep it vigorous. So I have to decide what to do. I'm looking at the possible new front here. Yeah, it actually, from the new front, kind of here, it looks pretty good there. It doesn't look as parallel. So I better keep it. I will prune it back, so I'm looking at buds. I've got one to the right, one on top. Oh boy, where am I? Well, I think I'm going to prune it to here. That comes off. Now I've got one kind of growing back towards this trunk, and I don't think I want that. No, I don't. So I'll take that one off and prune this stub off here. So off goes the stub, off goes this branch, and off goes this stub here too. Cleaning that branch up. There's another stub here I can prune back. Okay, so let's start pruning up this part now. It's so nice pruning up trees after they've grown. It's kind of nice getting them compact and seeing the branch structure. And so yeah, this one here, I better prune it to here. It's a little long. Well, no, I'm going to go back. I'll go back to here. Shorten it a little bit. The one coming out here, I'm going to go right back to here. I've got kind of a couple of leaders here. I think this one definitely flows the best with the trunk line. It kind of keeps that smooth curve flowing. If I remove one, it would be this one, I think. Or can I keep them both? I think I could keep them both, maybe. Kind of forming a bit of a canopy on top of here. I'll prune this one back to there. I'll prune this one back to here. Now I'm looking at it. It's kind of weird in that area. I got to do something there. It's just too strange looking. I'm going to get rid of this upright one. It just doesn't flow nicely. So off it comes. So you can see now the trunk line kind of comes up and flows nicely up to here. I don't know about this branch here. That's going to be a problem in the future. I'm going to get rid of it. Put the energy in the other branches. There. Now, there's one behind here. Let's have a look at that. I think that's a matter of taking it off. There's a bud on the bottom here, so I'm going to take it off right to here. This is why my apple tree never flowers, by the way, because I'm always pruning off all the flower buds. But that's what you have to do until you develop a really nice structure, and then you let it grow wild and it'll flower. Hopefully. Some apples never do, but prune this one back to here. I've got a branch cascading here. I think I'll take it back to here. I've got one coming up the top here. I'll prune it back to here. I'm keeping a lot of the branches on here. They eventually may disappear, but I'd rather have too many branches and then have a choice in the future when I repot it and, you know, finally pick my front and begin a little more styling work on the tree. So that's got this part cleaned up, this part. Let's do this lowest branch here now. This one's kind of a weird branch. It's kind of got ripped off or something and it's healing itself, so I'll leave that. I'm going to prune it. I'm not going to prune it. It's quite nice looking. This one though, let's take it back to here. And this tall one, or this long one out to the side here, I'm going to take back to here. Like that. So now that brings me around to this branch or trunk out the back here. So I got to prune this one up. So let me see what it looks like from maybe the possible front. Okay, it kind of comes out this side of the tree. So I think I'm going to just prune everything back shorter using directional pruning. Here. To here. Take some of these stubs off from last time I pruned it. Bit of cleanup work. Now here I have another conflict. You can see I have an old mature trunk here and then a new whip that's grown in here. I think one of those has to go. I think it's going to be the new whip. I don't know. Let me see. That's a tough choice. I think because this doesn't flow very nice. It flows from the branch line here. It flows nicely, but this one is more mature and has better taper and movement. This one's kind of a smooth curve. I'm going to take that one off. Here I go. So that's gone. Then this one I can prune back to here. The one that's growing upwards here, I'll prune the stub off and I'll prune it back to, I guess right here. And then there's one here. I don't know about that one. It's kind of a bit strange. I think I better prune that totally off. So off it comes, like that. Now I've got one here. I've got a stub I can prune back. Another stub here. And then I want to prune this branch back. I'll prune it to, I think, to here. Like that. I have one that's reaching around the back here. I've got a stub I can take off here. Like that. And then I can prune this one back to an outward facing bud to there. So that's got this back part roughly pruned up. Let's take the tip off here. So that leaves me now with just this main structure up top here. So let's have a look at that. I missed a couple of branches here. I better get those pruned up. These ones here. So I'm going to take this one off right here. And the upward one right back to here. Okay. Now, here's the top structure. So looking from the front, again, here I have that opportunity for taper if I want to keep it a single trunk line coming up here. If I do want to divide it here, well, it's kind of flat onto my proposed front view. The back one is thicker than the front one, which isn't so great. And, you know, there's a big straight section here that's very thick. I think this has got to come off. It's a major cut, but I think it'll help the movement at the top of the tree here. So I'm going to take it off. So here I go. I'm going to use my pruners here. I could use the ratcheting pruners. Let me try the ratcheting pruners. All right, here I come. I line the blade up with my cut, which is really nice. And here I go. Click, 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 click. And that just cut through like, you know, a perfect cut, like a saw. Very precise. Nice. So, you know, these ratcheting pruners are just fantastic. So there it is. That's removed. Now, I am going to seal this cut. It's a little big just to leave like that. So I've got my glue. My all-purpose rubber cement. Oh, if I can open the cap. Oh, it's pretty, here it is here. It's cold in here. That's the trouble. This rubber cement, when it gets cold, it gets very hard. I got the cap loose. I just put it in front of the heater for a little bit. So here I go. You can see the clear rubber cement. So I just spread it on the wound like that. And this remains, you know, fairly flexible. It seals the cut up and dries really quickly. I find it a good cut sealant. And I'll just put a bit on some of my other bigger cuts here. Especially on these apples, you know, wounds. Apples tend to get more disease than other trees. So maybe sealing wounds on apple trees is a really good thing to do. Okay, I think I've got all the cuts sealed up. Let's put a little bit on this old wound here too. Make sure there's no insects boring in there. Okay, that's good. Now, let's see what I've got left here. I have to admit that the apple tree looks pretty awesome in this view. Now, some of this is deadwood here, which will eventually disappear, but it looks very balanced. It's looking pretty ancient and old. I will be repotting this in spring, so I'll wait until, you know, the buds swell on the tree, and then I'll repot it and decide on a new front. And yeah, give the tree a good look over. So let me have a look at the apex again. My proposed front was here. How does that look? It looks okay. I don't know if it's as exciting as the other front, but it's okay. So what I want to do is prune the apex down. It's too tall, and I want to keep as much branching as I can, you know, after removing that big thick one. So here I go. So I'm pruning this apex for taper. You can see from here, kind of up to here, there's not much taper. So I do have a bud on the inside here. There's one here, so I could prune it off here. I'd lose my bifurcation here on the branching, but even that, I think this is too long. Like, it has movement, but no taper. Oh dear. I do on the inside here, I have a bud here, so I could take it off here for now, see what happens in that area. Which might be the wise thing to do. I think so. I think I've got to lose this bifurcation. Even if I, you know, kept the one as my taper, it's still too long and straight in this section. Like, there's just no taper here. It has movement, no taper. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prune it off right here. Here I go. Like that. Then I've got a branch out the back here. I got a bud on the bottom, one on the top, one on the side. This is getting too long, so I'm going to have to go back to here. And I got a branch here. I got a shoot here. I think that's dead. And I got some good healthy growth out here. I'll prune it off here. kind of shortening it to there. Here is a look at the deadwood on the tree. So here's this little piece remaining here. I'm going to take this off. It won't last much longer, so it's just barely hanging on there. It's a cool piece of deadwood. Looks awesome. You can see the cracks in the wood. You know, if you do create artificial deadwood, that's kind of what you want it to look like. And then in here, I've got some rotted parts that I'm just going to pull out. Now, there are insects that live in here, but they're not detrimental insects. I found they're like insects that feed on rotting wood. So I've kind of left the rotted wood in here. Again, hoping, you know, roots grow from this living tissue, which is here. This is the back side of the living tissue, into the rotted wood, which often happens in nature, especially on willow trees. So if you have a willow tree, keep your rotted wood on it, and you'll probably get roots grow into the rotted section. And then as the wood slowly rots away, you get all these exposed roots, and it's really, really cool. I've seen this on full-size trees, and it's an awesome, awesome look. I've got a lot of moss growing on here, which is fine. I think the rest I'm just going to leave. Maybe take this away. Yeah, the rest I'll leave. It's not going to hurt the live wood. It just kind of, it's there. It's a temporary thing. Happens in apple trees in nature too, that they just kind of rot away sections of them. So you just gotta, you know, embrace the look of it. All right, let's have a look at the tree now from the distance. Here's a look at some of the branches I pruned off today. There's my larger ones, and then over on this side, there's a lot of smaller ones. I'll spin the tree around so you can see it from all angles. This was the front at one time, so I'm going to start there. So here I go, rotating it around. We're going clockwise. Looking for good front views. Getting some nice bark on this back trunk here. It's getting quite old, rough looking. I did seal those other cuts on the top of the tree there with the rubber cement. Yeah, so there's some nice views of this tree. And back to the front of the pot anyway. This pot is a nice Tokonomi pot, a really good quality one. I don't know if this will be the final pot for the tree. I talked about maybe using this pot for my Austrian pine and maybe finding another pot for the apple tree, but I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards somewhere here as being the front of the tree. I think it's nice the way the trunk comes forward. I can keep it coming forward at the top. I'll have that large wound there, but you know, there's one here that's healed and it looks really cool. So yeah, a lot of possibilities. I mean, even if this becomes my tree someday, it's pretty cool looking. Who knows? The most important thing is to keep it alive and growing, which is hard for these fruit trees. Everything wants to eat them, rabbits, mice. So you got to protect them in the winter. And then they're, you know, fairly prone to disease too. But so far it's hanging in there. Yeah, very ancient old tree. Let's fly in now and have a look at the tree from above and kind of some different views of it. So there it is. I really enjoyed working on my apple tree today. Some new front possibilities for the tree. It's very exciting. I'm looking forward to repotting it in spring. That is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.